Today's podcast is sponsored by the Tithing Hoax, the Amazon best-selling book that has freed Christians around the world from the false doctrine of tithing. Get your copy now from Amazon.com or wherever books are sold. You're tuned in to the Kingdom Wealth Podcast, where we share life lessons, biblical wisdom, and spiritual principles to help you master your money the Kingdom way. Is there debt hanging over your head? Are you carrying debt, and no matter what you do, you can't seem to get rid of it? Does debt feel like a burden that plagues you? The reason for this may be due to unforgiveness. In this Kingdom Wealth episode, I explain how the spirit of unforgiveness leads to debt. What's debt? As it relates to finances, it means you owe money to someone or an institution. You may have borrowed money from a friend or family member to pay a bill. You may have gotten a bank loan to purchase a car or home. Whatever the case, you borrowed money you must pay back. Until you make the payment in full, you're indebted to that individual or institution. Everything you experience in the physical world has its roots in the spiritual realm, including debt. If you're not experiencing kingdom wealth, economic freedom, or prosperity, there may be interference in the spiritual realm that's blocking the flow. There may be a spirit keeping you in debt. There may be multiple spirits attached to your debt, but I'll focus on one: the spirit of unforgiveness. The Bible illustrates the relationship between debt and unforgiveness. We see this connection with the Lord's Prayer. The KJV says, "And forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors." Matthew chapter 6, verse 12. Yeshua, Jesus the Christ, is sharing the principle of forgiveness. He taught us that God forgives us as we forgive others. Forgiveness is a powerful principle that can release you from the bondage of debt. On the flip side, it illustrates that unforgiveness can keep you bound. So let's explore the spirit of unforgiveness and its negative impact on your finances. There are 3 states of unforgiveness. 1, you haven't forgiven yourself for something you did or didn't do. 2, you haven't forgiven someone else for something they did or didn't do. 3, someone hasn't forgiven you for something you did or didn't do. In either scenario, there's a spiritual debt that's unpaid. Spiritually speaking, you owe someone or someone owes you. As a result, this unresolved debt in the spiritual realm manifests as financial debt in the physical world. Perhaps you did something to someone and you haven't forgiven yourself. The financial debt is a symbolic representation of what you owe the person you transgressed. Subconsciously, you're trying to pay for what you did or didn't do. The debt is a symptom of unforgiveness. Again, this is not a financial problem. It's a spiritual issue. Now let's look at another aspect of unforgiveness. Someone may be holding unforgiveness toward you. This person feels you did them wrong and you owe them. Maybe you said something that offended them. Although there was no evil intent in your heart, the person may be holding a grudge against you. You may not be aware they feel this way. Even though they never talked to you about the incident, they're holding on to a spirit of unforgiveness. Debt keeps people bound to one another. In the financial world, the lender and the lendee are linked to each other until the debt is paid. The same is true in the spiritual realm. An unpaid debt creates a powerful soul tie. Let's say someone hasn't forgiven you. If they believe strongly enough that you owe them, their belief can hold you in financial debt. However, the power of forgiveness can settle the debt. In the world of finance, there's something called debt forgiveness. There are financial institutions offering debt forgiveness programs. The programs release people from repaying outstanding balances for credit cards, loans, or mortgages, etc. The slate is wiped clean, so all parties are set free. So we see how the law of forgiveness works in the financial system. How does it work in God's kingdom? Identify the issue that requires forgiveness. Ask for and accept God's forgiveness. It will help if you forgive yourself and others. God may put it on your heart to reach out to the person you offended. You may need to talk to them and ask them for forgiveness. What if you don't know about a grudge someone has against you? Pray the person finds it in his or her heart to forgive you and that they move on in peace. Applying the law of forgiveness settles debts. It can break soul ties. When you forgive your debtors, as God forgives you of your debts, you can set yourself free financially and spiritually. Let's recap. Are you caught up in a perpetual state of debt? Does it seem that no matter what you do, the debt keeps piling up? You've tried everything from budgeting to getting a second job, but nothing works. The spirit of unforgiveness may be the root cause of your debt. Debt is more than a financial burden, it's also a spiritual matter. What we experience in the physical world begins in the spiritual realm. Your financial debt may be a manifestation of a spiritual debt you owe. In other words, there's something you did or didn't do that requires forgiveness. Yeshua, Jesus the Christ, teaches the principle of forgiveness in the Lord's Prayer. It says, "And forgive our debts as we forgive our debtors." Matthew 6:12. If the spirit of unforgiveness is keeping you in debt, tackle it on the spiritual level. Ask God for forgiveness. Allow Him to forgive you so that you can forgive yourself and others. The law of forgiveness can wipe out the spiritual and financial debt. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please share it on your social media platforms. Also, please give a financial gift of any amount to help us spread the kingdom message around the world. Until next time, I'm RNA. Thank you for listening and be blessed.